four main issues. It is the demographic change, it is the aging of societies, which is bringing up a new era in society and in history, where people cannot live all their life with the knowledge they have gained during their first years of life until 15 or 20 years. So for this changes in the aging process, we need learning all over the life or for the whole lifespan. The second point is that lifelong learning is based on formal education. So what we uh, see for the future is that the population is getting higher educational levels, and so they will be more interested in learning in later life, as we had this situation before, or the former generations who were less long in the educational system and are not interested in learning processes later in their life. The third point is about the new scientific findings. It's especially about the benefits of learning. But I have to mention that when we speak of the benefits, normally we speak about formal learning and we don't speak about informal learning. I will discuss it also later on. And the fourth point is about the disappearance of the three boxes, about the age segregation process we have in our society. That will be one of the next points. So when I speak about or when we speak about demographic change, the most important change we will see in the next future is the new aging generations, which we name baby boomers, born between 1955 and 1975, more or less, all over Europe. They are entering in the next years the retirement phase. In the US, it has already started in 2011. And with this group, we see a quite different group, a quite different generation entering the retirement phase. These cohorts are important because they are numerous and entering the phase of life, and morbidity is likely to become more prevalent. So there are two things. It's a numerous group, and on the other hand, there is the question of morbidity and how we can influence this increasing prevalence of morbidity. The next thing is that how are these baby boomers? They are aging in a unique demographic context in which there has been a significant shift from a youth-dominant age structure to one in which there are much higher percentages of people over 65. So it will be the first society where there live more people over 65 than people below 20. So that will be an important point. Baby boomers in general have been often been characterized in popular and scientific literature as individualistic, demanding, and focused on self-realization. So what we will see in the future, and also for us in our WISL project, we will see quite a different group of older people in their interests, in their learning interests. We won't see them in homogeneous groups, in retirement clubs or retirement groups. We will see them more in an individualistic manner. It's a plurality of lifestyles, what we can see in the baby boomer generation. So this sort of learning via iPad is quite a good way, a good background for these new generations, for these new interests. They have developed a forever young mentality. They want to stay young. They want to stay young in comparison to their parents. They saw their parents as with gray hair, with their wrinkles. They got slower and chubbier. Boomers don't want to get to age. They want to stay young, and maybe that will be also a background for learning interests. They are among the biggest consumers, as to say, of Botox and hair dye. So maybe we should come to the situation they are more interested in learning and in educational classes than on Botox. But beyond the surface, it's another story. Many boomers are actually now in worse shape. We can see that these baby boomers have, as in this second bullet point, you can see the higher rate or higher prevalence for obesity, for hypertension and hypercholesterolemia. It's especially for the, we have data for the United States. We don't have data for the European countries. But we should do something, and education should be concerned more to health prevention concerning the baby boomers. So I have here two pictures. On the left-hand side, you will see, or you can see, a typical baby boomer, and on the right-hand side, the generation before. Maybe it will be also the generation, or the next generation, but it's only two pictures to show the differences between these two generations. So, but the next point is about the disappearance of the three boxes. Today we have more or less a society where these three phases of life are segregated. We have the younger life phase with where we do our education, the second one in adult life, which is dedicated to work, and the third one in retirement is mainly oriented toward leisure. And that's the problem. What we can see, or what Matilda and John Riley said in 1992, they said we need a disappearance of these three unrelated boxes. We should have for the future an age-integrated society, which means that we should have education all over our life, work all over our life, and also leisure all over our life. So for us in UISLA, the important point is that education should not be restricted to the younger life phase, but should be extended to all other phases. Maybe all the others here from Portugal and from some other countries here in our lecture this morning are not very interested to work all their life, but we should think about that. We should at least think about that to extend these three boxes and not to restrict them to a certain life phase, because if we are living so restricted, education will not come up and we will stay in the younger life phases. What are the gerontological reasons for lifelong learning? What we can see on the basis of a survey of Japanese elderly from Hiroko Akiyama, one of the very important researchers in Japan, who is for the first time presenting a threefold model of the life course. Until her work, we always spoke about two ways of aging: the resilient way of aging and the decline way of aging, or the decreasing health situation and morbidity. And with her we find three trajectories. The one is the resilient, where so more or less 11% of the population is aging more or less healthy. A second one, the bigger one, with gradual decline, and the third one with early decline. And what we should do with our aim and with our interest in learning, that we postpone this gradual decline and we postpone this early decline. So what we should do is to improve the life situation, the activities of these latter groups, and we should learn from the resilience. How do they do that? What are they doing? And what we know is that staying active, staying in doing cognitive improvement is a good way of protecting the brain and also protecting to get sick. So the reasons for education in later life are coming from different disciplines. And the first is economic productivity, that if we are extending education, if we are learning, maybe we are more productive. The second one is the social status. With more education, we have a higher status, a higher social status in society, all over the life course. The third point is the individual lifestyle. With more education and more learning, we have more options what we are doing. The fourth point is about self-fulfillment. Learning is dedicated to be more self-fulfilled. And the fifth point is longevity. Longer education is related to lower mortality and therefore longevity. So psychology focuses on the older people's abilities to learn. Sociology emphasizes social participation. The political sciences are oriented towards education and civil society. I think it's also an important point that learning in later life will bring you back to society. Otherwise, you are sometimes excluded if you are not having the newest devices and things like that. And the fourth point is on the social and labor market, that lifelong learning is also a factor for prolonging working life. So now we come on to the benefits. The main point of this morning lecture is that what we can see on the basis of research results, that there is a strong relationship between education and health. There is a strong relationship between education and lower mortality rates. The second, this is more the epidemiological point. The second one is more oriented towards psychology, that we have intellectual improvement, or at least an intellectual stabilization, that memory gets stabilized and is not so sharply decreasing. And the third point is that learning is helpful for social inclusion. I'm sorry that I don't have the newest data from SHARE. It's from 2005, but the results are quite intriguing. So what we can see, that individuals with low education are more physical inactive. So learning and education is related to mobility, but also vice versa. Cognitive ability is strongly related with education. The higher educated are more cognitively skilled than the lower educated. All countries reveal a positive relation between well-being and educational level. So that's it has to do with quality of life, learning and education. And the fourth point is the level of education is inversely associated with the reported medication. So learning has to do with medication. We know that it's one of the big problems in our societies, or in the big problem in especially in nursing homes and in the situation of frail elderly, that they are over-medicated. So education, I think and I hope, is helpful to influence this negative development. Lifelong learning improves health. There is a likeliness to seek medical assistance sooner and more effectively prevent and treat ailments by self-diagnosis. That's also an important point we have in our WESEL project, that we have one of our interests is to do something in the direction of health. That lifelong learning is related to a sooner recovery from diseases, fitness and exercising, satisfaction with health, and there is this, you see that in the diagram, a correlation between the level of education and mortality. So high educated people are living more or less 4 to 6 years longer than low educated persons. We cannot do very much in our project against this correlation because people are already educated, but we have a certain possibility to influence that status. People who are integrated in learning processes maybe can get better off and maybe can influence this former educational status in a way that will extend their lifespan. One of the most important research results of psychology, you already know that hopefully, is of Horn and Cattell from the 1960s, where they differentiated between crystallized intelligence and fluid intelligence, and they said that we have a growing, or at least a stable development of the crystallized intelligence. It's a cultural knowledge, and we have a certain decrease in fluid intelligence. That means speed of words and speed of reactions. There were more problems, but the positive message today is, and I think that you should keep in mind, you can teach also an old dog new tricks, and we can teach them, and we will be successful. That's what I believe, and that's what is on the background of all my research the last 30 years. So we have benefits concerning education and memory. There is a protective role of educational level on episodic memory aging. So between learning and memory, there is a strong relationship. You can see that from a quite recent study from Lucy Angel, 2010. The other interesting study I'm presenting here is multitasking. That if we are in a learning process, or we are entering a learning process, it's important not to learn only certain and very limited skills, but we should learn different skills at the same time. So here in this study, they were trained doing two things at the same moment, learning words, learning, and on the other hand, look at signs on a road, and to do both things together. And it's quite interesting that if you are presenting two things at the same time, the results are better, and the cognitive development is better. Social inclusion is a third point. Positive effects of learning on social inclusion. Participation, at least is in educational classes or in classrooms, is a way of including older people, including people living alone. It's also against the risk of poverty, and to improve the opportunities for all people to stay involved in society. And learning also challenges negative images of aging. Alexandra Whitnall has stressed this hypothesis in various of her publications. It's quite easy to say, or quite an easy point, that, or a simple point. If all the people are integrated into learning processes, we can demonstrate to younger people that in old age it is not a status of failure, not a status of dependency and of decrease, but it's a status where we can develop, we can change. That's the main point. We are coming to the end. The first is, when we speak about benefits, when we speak about the value of learning in later life, we should be also always critical, because education in later life can also evoke unpleasant and stressful experiences early in life and disrupt social networks. That's what John Field mentioned in his study in 2009. I want to illustrate this. If an older woman from the countryside, who is living in very integrated into the neighborhood, and maybe is also, as to say, to a certain extent controlled in this neighborhood, she's going out and she's participating in a course, and she's going to to an organization where they're offering courses, she's changing her social network. And maybe the old social network is saying, oh, you are not interested more in ourselves. You don't want to stay with us. You are not satisfied with us. And she will have problems with her, with the neighborhood. And therefore we should always keep in mind, changing this also means big changes for the older person interested in learning, participating in learning processes. So learning is not neutral. It's always a question whose interests are being served. It's what we know that we are serving mostly the interests of the middle class. We are not serving the interests of lower classes, or we are very often not serving the needs of people from the countryside, but we are mostly serving the interests of an urban middle class. So that's also what we should keep in mind. The conditions are responsible for the declining participation in education over the life course. What does that mean, the conditions? Well, it's not very easy to enter learning processes when you are 65 or 70. The rooms, the lights, the buildings are not very age-friendly. We need age-friendly conditions. Otherwise, older people will not participate. So it has also something to do with the educational status. It has to do with fees, with qualifications. It has to do with the family life cycle, especially women who are always stressed, or not. It's maybe not the right word. They always have to reconcile other obligations, other roles, so that for them it's quite difficult. And we have to keep in mind the attitudes towards learning, self-determination, and so on. So I'm coming to the end. What is the outlook? Lifelong learning is relevant for the labor market, and why I'm saying that at the first point, because we always in the situation that everybody is asking us, are you doing only this project for older people out of the labor force? That's not really interesting. We are more interested in productivity. So I think it's relevant. Learning is an important point to stay in the labor market. And it improves democracy. Participating in learning processes is at least a form of social inclusion into society, in social changes, and participating in social changes in society. A third point, we see certain spillovers. We have experiences when older women, for example, are learning about taboos in later life, sex or death, and they're bringing home sheets or bringing home books or booklets. Very often the husband is reading this. So we are not only working with this person, but we should always keep in mind that we are learning with the whole family, or we are doing something for the whole family. We should give always our older participants something to bring home. That's a very interesting point. It develops individuals, self-esteem, self-efficacy, confidence is something what they are getting from being successful learners. It improves health, I have already mentioned that, and it reduces educational inequality if it is directed to the lower skilled and to the lower classes. That is really a challenge for our project, because we are working with these new technologies, and that's for the lower skilled enormous challenge. So my last picture is we should go there, and we should go everywhere where there are no airports. We should not use the already used airports. So thank you very much for participating. So there are some questions. There is, and I will answer this question, what I can see on the screen. What I mean for morbidity? Morbidity means that people or who are aging as getting sick. They have various sicknesses. It's not only one, so they are sick, for example, for the blood pressure and dementia and depression and things like that. So we speak about multimorbidity. We need also statistics for the EU. I think it's more or less the same situation. Yes, I think I've prepared this presentation or discussed this presentation also within another European project, the Era Age project, and I discussed it with people who were present in a conference, and they were answering, or they were discussing that in the sense that they're saying that it's also in most European countries very similar. So any more questions from you? The question if the benefits are different from learning something totally new. I think that's twofold. The first thing is always, if you are learning something new, the problem for the individual is that he or she has to change quite a lot personal habits. So at the beginning, they don't want to see the benefits. Mostly they want to see irritation, what I said, or I mentioned, or I defined it as irritation, that people are saying, oh, I can't do the same routine as before, I have to do something different. So in the first phase, they won't see the benefits, but learning something new is in any case something important because it brings you up changes in your life, and they are important for adaptation. So that's important. Then how we can meet the characteristics of the baby boomers, I think it is especially on the basis of our devices. They are more interested in social media. They are more interested in these new devices as the former generations, because they are they are working with that because it's also part of their working life. So I think they will accept it more easily than the today aged, the today or people 80 years and older. So any more questions? I think the road, yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Great. First of all, thanks a lot for the great presentation that you made. It was really great. I have one question. Do you think there is some sort of a vicious circle here? Because people we have already some higher level of education will be more susceptible to continue learning in their senior years, and the other people which have a lower level of education will still be reluctant to have some learning at that stage.
Yeah, you are very right. That's the principle we know from our gerontological and studies since a long time, that normally learning processes or learning offers in later in life are mostly directed and accepted by people who are already within this culture, and people who are not living in this culture, as the less educated, the less skilled, are also the persons who are less interested in this in learning offers or in courses in later in life. But we should try to find new programs. I think the programs we had in the past they were mostly oriented towards people who were interested in learning. So we should go new ways. We should go out from the classroom. I think it is, to my mind, one of the problems is the classroom. That the middle class or the well-educated, they have learned always in classrooms, and for them it's normal. And for the people outside of the learning culture, they don't want to go to classrooms. They want to learn in their life worlds and more informally. And I think that's what we should do. And maybe these new forms of learning in UISL are also a form to going out from the classroom. Is that an answer for you?
Yes,
Oh, I don't
yes.
hear you.
Thanks.
I think that's important. We should learn more informal or in informal ways. Then we can reach also people who are not yet in the learning culture.
So what you are saying is that we must start preparing people earlier than in the senior years.
Yeah, of course. Of course, that's you are very right that we should have a life course perspective and not an aging perspective. It's too late if you are coming up, or it's very late if you are coming up with programs for 70 plus or 60 plus, because then it will be very, very difficult to reach them. So it will be much better to start with people in their 40s, because that's the central phase in your life where the decisions are made, and later on it's quite difficult to do something different, to change your lifestyle and to get integrated into learning processes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any more questions? So if not, I think we can stop the lecture today. If there are any more questions concerning the presentation, please feel free to write to the group or to me, so we can answer that, and we can continue in our work. And I think it's a very important work we are doing for this aging population. Of course, you can have the presentation, of course. So have a nice day, and we'll see you again. Thank you very much being with us. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much, Franz. It was an excellent presentation. Thank you very much. And this lecture has been recorded, and we'll make it available on the website of the project and also on our internal platform. Again, thank you, and it was a pleasure to see you all.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.